Hey there, folks. Welcome to Spectrum Pulse. We talk about music, movies, art, and culture. And today we're going to be talking about the debut album from the group No Worries called Yes Loud. So I think I've gone on record a number of times by this point how 2016 has been a bit of a dud in terms of popular music, especially hip-hop, showcasing established MCs underperform and a whole load of talentlessness get recognized for no damn good reason. But I think what's made this all the more frustrating for me is that, well, it didn't have to be this way. It could have been more than just Chance the Rapper and Drum who carried the torch from the underground with real quality, and the lack of recognition for mainstream ready rappers and performers has been just as frustrating, if not more so. You want the prime example of that? It's Anderson .Paak. Oh, the critics absolutely adored his early 2016 album Malibu, myself included. That album completely rules. But it was a summer record released in mid-January, and that probably prevented his music from crossing over more. Cause make no mistake, if we can give Lil Yachty, Designer, Lil Uzi Vert, and Young Thug careers, Anderson .Paak's material was not so inaccessible that it couldn't do well, especially given how damn catchy and charismatic it all was. Again, Malibu was a fantastic record, but despite making the XXL freshman list for 2016 and a few critically acclaimed guest appearances on other albums, it didn't really seem like Anderson .Paak was interested in playing the game. Instead, he went over to the independent label Stone's Throw, most well known for backing artists and producers like Jay Dilla and Madlib, and set up a collaboration with Knowledge, who is a prolific producer in and of his own right, probably most well known outside of the indie scene for some production work he did for Kendrick Lamar on To Pimp a Butterfly. Now together they formed No Worries, and while they had dropped a collaborative EP last December, this was a full-length debut album, not just a mixtape as I'd originally thought, which is why I'm a little bit late getting to this. And hell, I like both these guys. This could very well be a fun album, so how is Yes Loud? Well, I'm of a few minds about this. On the one hand, given its somewhat slapdash assembly, its short song length, the free-flowing nature, and general lack of strong hooks, this album reads to me a lot like a side project beat tape, or a very typical collaboration project where our performers just relax and see what happens for about 50 minutes. As such, when I say it's good but not great, it's based a little bit on lowered expectations. This isn't a Run the Jewels or a Madvillain type of collaboration. It's a lot more loose, a lot more flexible. But on the other hand, I've definitely heard both Anderson .Paak and Knowledge make more interesting and cohesive material, at least more fleshed out songs and ideas, which means that while I kept going back through Yes Loud for more actual content, I had a hard time finding a lot of it. In other words, good but not great. And you want evidence of that? Well, let's start off with the fundamentals of this project with Anderson .Paak himself. And look, I'm going to repeat a lot of what I said for my review of Malibu. He is a great presence behind the microphone. His free-flowing rasp is naturally expressive and soulful. He can just dance across flows. He's got an assured confidence that isn't particularly hungry, but doesn't need to be on a project like this. He's the sort of artist who is so naturally charismatic that he can get away with a lot, especially over the course of an entire project, and when it's paired with songs where he is very much on point. A ton of easygoing, organic charm. It manages to elevate some otherwise pretty lightweight subject matter, although there's plenty of subtle flourishes in the writing that adds its own little brand of nuance that I appreciated. Take the otherwise straightforward love song Best One, where it's clear he's got his exit if you wanted it, and that he could leave at a drop of a fedora. That's just a little flair when he could be a douchebag at any time, but it's clear that he shouldn't be that stupid. And yet on the very next song, he's faced with every opportunity in the world to cheat, and I like how the girl's commentary sneaks in as the voice of reason. It really is only as difficult as he himself makes it. Or go later to the track listening to Starlight, where the first half is a long-form reminiscence of why the relationship never worked, i.e. he cheated on this girl, and it's thoughtful and it's mature, and then it flips to their song as he tries to make one last big play to win her back, and in the hand of a lesser artist, any attempts at romance would just blow up in their face, and yet Anderson .Paak is so good, he kinda makes it work. But that's the funny thing about this album. Even despite all of his earnest confessions of love, it becomes very clear that Anderson .Paak should probably just avoid monogamy at this point of his life if he wants to focus on his career. And the album is self-aware enough to end where, amidst his crooning, we get the sample of the girl rightly cussing him out. The lesson is less finding your one true love and more of get your shit together, as a very aptly chosen Rick and Morty sample drives home on Can't Stop. Yeah, another reason why I really kind of dig this. Hell, that effectively is the message of both Scared Money and Get Bigger Do You Love, probably two of the best songs on this project. But the writing can definitely be a double-edged sword, most because there is self-awareness and then then there's just Anderson .Paak acting kind of like a dick, or at the very least kind of tactless. It's kind of analogous to similar problems that Drom had on his debut, but Anderson .Paak's choice to avoid obvious comedy means it's a little bit less excusable. Sure, HAN is kind of hilarious with the Baptist blessing on the outro, but also very much a more money, more problems song that doesn't nearly play as well coming from Anderson .Paak as it could. Suede is a similar case with lines like, if I call you a bitch, it's cause you're my bitch, and as long as no one else call you a bitch, then there won't be any problems. Yeah, but you're still calling her a bitch, man. That combined with the first verse where he's borderline condescending to the girls that he's with when they're out for a partying, well, it's a bit of an awkward song, and it's probably the worst one here. He could have easily cut it along with the girlfriend stealing of Link Up, but here's the thing. Both these songs are off the collaborative EP Link Up and Suede that was released last year, and neither added so much to this project that they were essential or should have been included at all. That's the other thing. While there are little lyrical flourishes peppered all over this record, it can definitely feel a little bit underwritten, or with points that feel kind of redundant. Hell, you could cut a third of this album and all those tacked on snippets and fragments of songs, and then refine the remaining tracks into fully formed pieces. I'd probably like this project a fair bit more, and a very big part of that, overall, is the production. Now, I wouldn't say that Knowledge has the hardest hitting beats or the most lush instrumentals here. In fact, there are very few points where the drums are actually very quiet and toned back. But again, given the sound and style of this project, that kind of makes a fair amount of sense. The bass lines and keys tap into relaxed and rubbery G-funk tones. The guitars only seem roughly on tune on songs like Best One and Suede. The guitars, horns, and arranged instrumentation carrying a lot of the melodies often feels nestled into the mix with only sparse effects around them. It almost carries just enough blended warmth to connect its collage of samples into a cohesive whole. And combined with a cushion of interweaving backing vocals and samples, all these songs do carry a pretty solid tune, albeit feeling a little bit uniform by the very end, not helped by the slower tempo overall for the entire project. Now, that's not saying that there aren't moments that stand out. The interweaving, subtle bass touches against the strings and guitar embellishments of What More Can I Say, the oddly indiscernible tone playing off the bass with the arranged instrumentation on Get Bigger Do You Love that I really liked, the soulful sampling of Starlight, and the general guitar is playing off the patter of the drums on Side Piece. But my personal favorite, Scared Money. Mostly because of those synth choices. It sounds like an infomercial that Ariel Pink would have remixed into a remarkably catchy song, especially with those tinnier pianos, and honestly, I dug the hell out of it. Sadly, it's followed by Suede, which tries to fuse in a Jill Scott Heron sample into its unstable, wiry groove, where it sounds like the cymbals were mixed really sloppily. Again, there's no need to put this song on the album. And while Starlight and Side Piece are both solid tunes, the final third of this record really doesn't hold up all that well. It kind of falls apart at the end, and that's a bit of a disappointment. But in short, this was an enjoyable listen. I do not think it's better than Malibu, which had stronger hooks and more cohesive songs overall, but as a sort of side project that isn't really trying to be much more than a lightweight lark, this is fine enough. I do wish that Anderson .Paak had opted for a little bit more effort in his writing especially. I think with a little bit more focus and tightness, he and Knowledge could knock this out of the park. But as it is, it's a solid 7 out of 10, and it's a recommendation. If you're an Anderson .Paak or Knowledge fan looking for a good holdover between projects, for Knowledge that won't be that long, or if you're just looking for a chill slice of hip-hop and R&B, definitely check this out. You won't regret it, it's pretty damn good. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. If you'd like to like and subscribe, I'd be more than grateful. I know I'm a little bit late to this, but I get the poll up here, so what'd you guys think about it? Did it come together for you, or just feel a little bit sloppy and underwritten? I'm kind of hearing that this is a little bit of a divisive project among some people. Beyond that, anything else I might be able to do to improve my presentation, or any other albums coming out that you want me to take a look at, I will try to give them a listen. Till then, I'm Mark, you're watching Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.